Were the Badgers just exposed potentially the start of a tough run for Wisconsin basketball, or is it just a one-game loss on the road? Let's not make that much out of it. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day, good or bad. Thank you for tuning in. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Harris, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download Gametime, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege, and you're going to get 20% or $20 off your first purchase over at Gametime. And listen, we got to play the sad sound on this one. The Badgers lose a tough game on the road to Maryland. They kind of fall apart towards the end, but up until that point, the game had been close. Got a bunch of your comments starts. We're going to get into all that. But Rajiv, we always start with good, mid, and ugly. I'm going to kick it over to you. We'll start with you. What's the good?
I mean, there's not a ton, but I'd say a couple of things. First of all, the fight. Like it's never easy to win on the road. I know that I'm frustrated. I know people are frustrated. There's various things we'll get into, but ultimately, this is a very tough conference, and Maryland is a very good team. They went on the road and beat up on Illinois. They won at Indiana. The good for me, I thought defensively in the first half, things actually were pretty solid. And I think the way we defended Queen and Reese, which are very, very tough bigs to defend, I thought was pretty good. We were able to get some of the guys in foul trouble. I like the way that, Winter had a couple good wall up plays. I think Crowell was doing a pretty good job. Look, we don't have strong physical bigs. We know this. This is nothing new. So when we play, I think that well in the first half, I'm not saying it was great, but I don't think you can do much better against those guys early. Now, second half is a different story, but first half defense was pretty good for me. And of course, Tanjay shooting, he had a bit of up and down night, but when he can be so clinical and such a killer from three. So that's always going to be in my good column when someone shoots like that at critical times.
I already feel like I'm not going to be as frustrated with this particular game as a lot of people in the chat, which is totally fine. Again, we always talk about every fan, however you want to fan. You're not going to win every road game. Let's start there. This is a close game throughout against a team that's been playing really well. And this is also a team that is built to exploit the type of weaknesses we specifically have with more physical interior presence, longer perimeter defenders. We know this Wisconsin team's not perfect. For my good, I'm going to go to overall, this was a spot that I feel like we very easily could have got blasted on the boards. They held their own on the boards. In fact, they out-rebounded them on the offensive glass. Crowell had 9 boards. I thought Crowell played really hard. This was what I thought was kind of a litmus test for how well Crowell's been playing. Okay, now you're going to have a couple big, physical, athletic front court players you're going to have to contend with. I thought Crowell held his own, and that's a really good sign going forward against teams that are going to be able to throw more size against us. So, to me, I was encouraged by Crowell continuing to play hard. That offensive foul he had, it's almost like he took years of pent-up aggression and just threw somebody to the ground. I was like, what in the world are you doing there? But at least he did it aggressively, Rajiv.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about Crowell in another segment coming up that we do. But that's actually my mid. I'll kind of move to my mid, which was rebounding, actually, because yes, they had 9 offensive rebounds, but we had 12 offensive rebounds. 12 offensive rebounds is pretty good. I still think, there are times where I just wish we could just be a bit more better about going up and grabbing the ball and not letting it bounce around. Overall defense for me was kind of my mid, but yeah, rebounding, definitely. I'm okay with that. If we rebound like this, now this is a good team that has really physical bigs, so that's tough. We're gonna be a lot better of a rebounding team if we play like this. You saw effort tonight, which I always talk about. Effort on rebounding, it's everything. Blocking out, getting in good positions. Even guys that don't play a lot of that, Amos kind of flying around for rebounds a little bit here and there too. Crowell most definitely did. I mean, that long rebound he had late in the game, which was really key. Yeah, rebounding, definitely my mid. And just kind of overall staying in the game was another thing that I wrote down for mid, which, you could have let this game get away much earlier. We fought really hard. And, overall, again, you look at the schedule, you look at everything. This is kind of one of those you mark down as probably not going to win this game, and that's okay. You just got to take care of business in the other ones.
Yeah, Jack Pollock says winning on the Big Ten, on the road in the Big Ten is hard.
Extremely hard.
I'm not going to get in the roller coaster of this team's great and then this team's terrible. No, this team has always been a flawed team. We talked about it before the season. They're going to have to shoot well to win. That's always been what this team is. And they don't shoot well, they're not going to win. My mid is Nolan Winter. there were flashes, right? He had an early 3 that I thought was a quick contested shot. That was a big moment in the game. He had that really nice kind of a couple nice moves on the perimeter, on the post. And then there's just also moments where I know you're a sophomore. I know you're still learning. You got to finish stronger. You just have to finish stronger if you're Nolan Winter in some of these moments. And then there's also moments where he gets too passive, right? When you have the switch and you have Queen on you, Nolan Winter's more athletic. You got to be a little more aggressive if you're going to be that second big. I think there's flashes. Again, I think it's still coming with him. So he's my mid in this game. Finished, I think, 3 of 8 shooting today.
Yeah, let's talk about him for a little bit. I just think that my biggest issue with Winter right now is exactly what you said. He's just not being very aggressive, and he had another block in this game, which was really key. There are times where you're like, Winter, heck yeah, man, like great shot, great play. He's a sophomore now. Like, I think that the time for him to really, be a timid young player is over. He's too timid. He needs to stop. A lot of people in the Discord, Ron Weasley, a few others were talking about it. Like, just the timidness that he has got to stop. And I don't really understand why, because he doesn't really have reason not to be confident. He's had a really good year, clearly took a step, definitely, is something that now defenses are focusing on. They know he's one of our better players. But there are times where he just kind of loses it. And I talked about earlier, we had a stretch earlier in the year where his awareness was really good. He was pump faking. He was really being strong. Now he just gets the ball down low again. And it's like, I'm just going to go up and it might get blocked. It might not. And I'm like, dude, you are a big. You are a 7-foot big who, was a highly touted recruit, a guy that we definitely believe in. You got to play more like it. And I am a little upset after today with Nolan Winter, because it's like you're now a season and a half in. You have to play bigger and better. You have more natural skills than Steven Crowell does. You just do. You got to play like it. And there are times when Crowell was definitely our better big today. He had a great game, I thought. And I want more out of Winter. And I am frustrated because I know it's a tough game. And as far as the loss overall, that's going to happen. But certain individuals, that's what I'm going to get to with my ugly. I just feel like we just have to be a little more crisp. This team has aspirations of doing things in March. And I certainly have aspirations for that, as all fans do. And moments like this, you just got to have some better performances from your key players.
Yeah. Here's the thing with Crowell. Like, we know what the ceiling is with Crowell. If you get 10-9, 10-10 with some efficiency from Crowell and he battles his ass off, that's a win. That's what you want from him. What you need is the extra from Winter. You need the extra juice from Winter, because you're not going to get 20 and 10 from Crowell, but you could potentially get that. That's Winter's ceiling. He could get to that point. Let me jump into my bad. There's a lot of people, and I had a comment up here. I just put it down. I apologize. And as always, Rajiv, if you see anything you want to throw up there. People talk a lot about shots, right? What did Wisconsin shoot this game? What did Maryland shoot this game? But it's not really, you don't just rub a lamp and a shot genie comes out and you make shots. You make shots because you're getting good looks, and you miss shots generally because you're getting bad looks. This game, and this is what we've talked about as a weakness with this team, this is where you're missing a true point guard a little bit. Maryland's shots were just easier. In transition, I don't think our transition defense was great. Some of that's keyed off of bad shots on our end. You take bad looks, you take rush shots, they're going to get leak outs. The reason we didn't shoot well is we had a lot of contested one-on-one shots, and the reason they shot well is they got a lot of open looks. So to me, that's the bad. We have to find a way when we play physical teams that are going to get in our grill, that are going to play perimeter defense. We have to find a way to engineer better shot quality. I think there's ways you can do it. I think sometimes you have to go away from your motion offense and hunt a mismatch. I think you get Tanji in the post a little bit more. I think there's ways you can manufacture offense at a better clip than we did tonight against Maryland, because this is not the last long athletic team we're going to face. So to me, the bad is shot quality. Theirs was much better than ours. And that's partially because we lacked that point guard at times, but it's also because I think we went a little too hero ball, and our transition defense wasn't as crisp as it needed to be.
So my ugly is turnovers. Again, I just think that this is becoming a bad habit for this team. I was at the UCLA game, and I remember the first 2 possessions were turnovers. And tonight, again, first possession, I think that's happened like, no kidding, like 5 or 6 times this season where our first offensive possession has been a turnover. We've got to stop doing that. We have to stop. And yes, Bo Dragon, aspirations in March. I have another comment start from him too. Yeah, look, I think that like we got to stop doing that. It's one of these things that Wisconsin teams historically don't have problems with rebounding. And I know this team is different. We play a much higher pace. That's going to happen. I totally get that. But there are just times where I just don't understand. We're kind of dribbling into black holes. We're not making smart decisions at the times. I will say one thing I wanted to piggyback on what you said about, they obviously pressure the ball very heavy in the first half. And they did that. I think there were times where I kind of liked that in the first half where, we're like, if you're going to pressure us like this, we're going to drive right by you. There were times, I think Klesman even did it a couple of times. I'm like, hey, that's good. Now just finish that play, find the extra pass out or finish at the rim. We really struggled finishing at the rim tonight. That was another thing where I'm sometimes I'm perplexed. Tanjay had an issue with that. Blackwell, Klesman, McGee, everybody we couldn't finish at the rim. It's almost like we had such good action at times to take advantage of the fact that they were pressuring the ball and make some moves around it. And then we just couldn't get it done in the last second. Again, that's going to happen when you're in a tough environment like that. Of course, this is their gold rush game. Like, of course that had to happen.
Right.
But I mean, they've had basically next to nobody in that arena for weeks now. And it's because of lack of students there, but my gosh, of course that happened. But yeah, tough atmosphere. Got to finish some of those things and got to stop getting into the paint and turning the ball over. I think Blackwell does that every game, and it's frustrating. It's okay that we lost, but again, these individual things, they're going to come back to haunt us come March, and we can't let it happen.
We're going to take a quick second there, get to our friends of the show, come back, talk player of the game, and talk about a few more of your comments here, including some playing time discussions with Klesman, McGee, a continuing one we keep having. That's coming up next, Locked On Badgers. First, a quick second for our friends of the show over at Gametime. Gametime's awesome. Like, if you want to get tickets to an event, go over to Gametime. Again, I've talked about it a lot. Let's do more things in life. Let's do more things together. Let's do more things individually. Let's get to more places. Let's go with family, friends, yourself. If you hate your family and friends, that's cool too. Take a solo trip somewhere. It's all good over at Gametime. Find the tickets without the stress, last-minute deals, flash sales, pictures of the seats, so when you know exactly how close you are to the popcorn guy and the vending machine guy. There's probably not a vending machine guy, right? There should be like a vending machine concierge, right? That makes sure that the falls out.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. Like, that should be a thing in my ideal world. Over at Gametime right now, stay the tickets without the stress with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. Again, create the account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Let's get back into this, Rajiv. Who is your player of the game today? We always do player of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think, a lot of people will probably say Tanjay. I know he had 23 points, and he shot 5 of 8 from 3. I say probably officially he's my guy, but I got to say Steven Crowell, I thought had a great game today. Absolutely great game. 10 points, 9 rebounds, 4 offensive rebounds, 5 defensive rebounds. I thought given the fact that Queen and Reese are very difficult players, you saw that as soon as Winter was on Reese, they just went to him nonstop. And then they put Crowell back in the game, they stopped. The guy is playing his ass off, man. Ever since the call out from guard, I don't think he's had a bad game since then. And I'm not, knock on wood, I don't want it to jinx anything, but I'm really proud of the way he played. And like we said, this is his ceiling. This is what happens with him. But like, if he can give this kind of performance game in and game out, and then we get other pieces around him, that's all you can ask for from Crowell. I think one time today, I thought I was upset with him. He got double teamed in the post. He didn't find the right pass. Winter was wide open. Nobody was on him. So things like that are going to happen. But for the most part, he's very calm. He plays collected. He handles his stuff. I do want him to post. I do want him to take a little more. There's times where he's backing in the lane. I'm like, just take the guy. If you're one-on-one situation, he's got enough post moves to really be creative down there. Just take that. But yeah, I have zero issue with anything I saw from Crowell tonight. I absolutely think he was our player of the game.
Yeah, I love the Crowell call it. I mean, I went Tanjay just because you go 5 for 8 from 3. You lead the team in scoring.
Sure.
You get the line. But I mentioned Crowell in my good of the game. So I think we're kind of the same crossing over here. Tanjay, the thing with Tanjay, man, is he makes and takes some really tough shots. And in games like this where we're not running great offense, this is kind of what I talked about with AJ Storr a little bit in moments last year, where sometimes you just need a tough shot taker because you're getting bad looks. And you need a guy that's willing to kind of take those shots and can still hit some, right? This was not peak offensive efficiency Badgers this year. And you still had Tanjay shoot a high efficiency. Without him in this game, we lose by 20, right? Without Tanjay, we lose by 25. So I went Tanjay in this. I do want to put up this comment from Sarah. We've gone away from the post this year. It gives us nothing on offense. This is something you kind of touched on too. We need to get Crowell and Winter more involved. We need paint touches. I know this is a 3-point shooting team, but you can't go for such long stretches without hitting the post. I think Crowell can get more opportunities down there. And I also think you can post guys like Tanjay. You can post some other guys and invert the offense. I thought we got too perimeter oriented today.
I completely agree with this, Sarah. Great comment. I actually am really surprised. Like, this is still Greg Gard. He still learned under Bo Ryan. Like, Bo Ryan is the king of post moves and developing big men. I am shocked that we don't see this. There was a time in the second half when They had taken, it was, they were on a run, then we went on a run, they went back on another run. And there were times where I'm just like, you know what, just slow it down, get in the post. They were not playing they weren't pressuring the ball as much late in the second half. They were obviously tired. It takes a lot out of you. Slow the game down and put it in the post. Like they weren't doubling for much of the game. Like just slow it down and get down there. It's not like him. Blackwell can do it. Tanjay can do it. Winter can do it. Gilmore can do it. Amos can do it. You got to just run that action at times and put it down there. And then if you do get doubled and you pass out, that's fine. If that's the way you do it, it's okay. But I really don't understand it. I said it. I put it in the Discord too. I'm like, why are we not hitting the post more? It doesn't make sense. Winter is a guy that I feel like never plays with his back to the basket on the block. Why not? Why? I mean, he has some of that. He is a guy that can do that, and I don't understand that at all. I'm okay with him taking the threes. He should continue taking them. But you see Crowell do it, and you see some success. And they did on the very first possession of the game, which I thought was great. Do that more. They were not doubling every time he touched the ball. It really doesn't make sense. And honestly, I know I'm all happy with the new offense. What Kirk Penny and Steve Smith brought in, I'm all for it. But all those guys played under Bo Ryan, and they know how important it is to develop and to have that post game as to be kind of a backup. When your offense isn't shooting that well, you just need to go down there and get those tough baskets. We seem to just have gone completely away from it. And it is very frustrating.
Yeah, and I don't even think it should be a backup of the offense. That's part of the component of the offense, right? You hit Crowell, you hit Winter. I would love to see Tanjay more in the post with his physicality. He is the ultimate YMCA old man game. Like when I play young cats at the gym now, like I'm 41, like I give them one pump fake and then another, right? Like that's Tanjay. And he can, the way he shoots fouls, the way he shoots free throws, get him on the post, man. Let other teams' wings deal with a guy like that on the low block and see what happens. I just think goes back to the first point I made. There's ways to get cleaner looks when the team is pressuring you defensively on the perimeter like that. One of them is to hit the post. I wanted to hit this because we got a bunch of comments in here and we got to get to it. Klesmit today. I want to kick it over to you, to your thoughts on Klesmit and wherever we want to go with it in terms of the minutes. Kamari McGee played 23, Klesmit played 32. That's something we've talked about a lot, maybe wanting those minutes to flip. But what were your thoughts on Klesmit today?
Yeah, so first of all, with the minutes, let's not forget that Blackwell was in foul trouble. That's a lot of the reason that he had 31 minutes tonight. He obviously had to come in and play a lot more in the first half. Again, he was 1 of 6, so 16% from 3. Like we talked about how he's basically shooting under 30%. And it seems like every game it's the same. It's 2 of 8, 2 of 7, right? And that's happening a lot. And yeah, I struggle with this because I want him to shoot himself out of this slump because I know he can, and I know he can go nuclear at any moment. But yeah, I mean, there were times late in the game and I'm like, he doesn't need to be in there right now. Now, I will say I was happy with Klesmit at times tonight because I thought, again, he was taking guys off the dribble. He was trying to penetrate and create some offense at times when they were pressuring him. He was one of the only guys that was doing that and doing it with some effectiveness. Partially that's because he was the guy that was guarding him, wasn't a great defender. But so I'm not super upset with what I saw at a crowd tonight. But the bottom line is, Klesmit. The bottom line is he is a 3-point shooter. He is our 3-point specialist. He was 1 of 6 tonight. And it just can't happen like this. So yeah, his minutes are going to have to decrease. Similar to what we saw with Connor Seachin. When he wasn't making stuff, his minutes had to kind of go down. He wasn't a great defender. And if that means that Kamari's getting more minutes, which we obviously agree, even Janicki's getting more minutes, we're going to have to make some adjustments because it's sad to watch this from him. His 3-point shooting is so bad.
Yeah, it's been bad. Pedro makes a point if Blackwell's not going to play because of foul trouble. Klesmit needs to be on the floor more. That's something, Rajiv, you hit on as well. I have maybe a counterculture take on Klesmit in this game. You look at some of his shots, he gets swung the ball quite a bit with 8 seconds left on the shot clock. And 3 points, you have to take some of that into context. 2 or 3 of those shots he had tonight were late shot clock situations where we had nothing cooking offensively. And if it's not him taking a bad shot, a tough contested shot, it's going to be someone else missing it. And there's an element to that he plays. He had, I think, 7 rebounds today. He was our second leading rebounder. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't have the box score up, but you're talking about a guy who played really hard today, had to take some tough shots. Was he great? Absolutely not. But I think sometimes we ignore the context of shots, which I think in today's game was important. There wasn't a lot of good looks. And then defensively and on the glass, I thought he played really hard tonight. So I still think McGee needs to play more. Like I've made that point pretty consistently, but let's be honest, today wasn't McGee's finest game either. A couple missed shots in the paint, a couple iffy looks from him on the perimeter as well. I just think with the foul trouble, McGee had to play more, or Klesman had to play more. And I don't want to ignore the fact that he was really on the glass. He was helping out the bigs. He was playing pretty hard defensively. And again, if you're going to swing a guy the ball with 8 seconds left in a contested situation, most of those shots are going to be missed.
Yeah, like I said, I think he had a decent game tonight. I liked some of the things that he did. Obviously, I don't like when he goes 1 of 6, but you're right. Those shots were late in the shot clock. And I keep wanting to say, like, I feel like one of these games, he's just going to go 6 of 8 from 3. And then it's like, okay, Max is back. Right. And I'm hoping that happens. And I'm hoping it happens in March when he really need it to happen. So he does need to play. I originally earlier in the season, I was like, we need to bench him. I don't think we should. I'm okay with him McGee coming off the bench, just equalize the minutes a little bit more. Today, 31 minutes is not normal for him. That's strictly because of Blackwell's foul trouble.
Yeah, we're going to take one more quick second here. Rajiv, I got a bunch of stuff commented and starred, but there's a couple key points I want to point out, and there's a key coaching thing that I think needs to get better. I'm going to talk about that next, and then we'll get into any comments that y'all have. But first, a quick second for our friends of the show. And as always, we always want to say thank you for tuning into Locked On Badgers and being with us here as we react, good, bad, or indifferent. All right, coming back, Locked On Badgers. I want to hit a quick coaching thing. And then, Rajiv, I'm curious on this. I do think there's moments in games. I don't have the box score up. How many fouls did Blackwell and or Tanjay finish with?
But 4 fouls for Blackwell, Tanjay 3 fouls.
Okay. And some of those happen at the end when you're trying to play catch up. They're shooting free throws. Mm-hmm. I think at times coaches foul their own players out. I don't think you needed to sit Blackwell and Tanjay with 2 fouls for that stretch in the first half. I think you just got to say, Tanjay, you're a veteran. Play through it. I'm sorry. We got to have one of you on the court. I thought Maryland made their first big run with both those guys on the bench. We couldn't score. I just think we lost some of our momentum there. And I think in this situation, road situation, you got to let one of those guys play through it. I didn't love that decision.
Yeah, I would agree with you, especially because Tanjay's both of his fouls were both offensive arm bars, which, by the way, he needs to be smarter than that. So you're right. Like he didn't have any defensive fouls in the first half. They were both offensive. They were both on him. They were self-inflicted. So I agree he should have come in there. Now, I will say that at the time, I thought to myself, you know what? It looks like it's going to be a close game at half. Maybe it's like if it would have gotten more out of hand, I think he would have brought him back. And he's done that in the past, but this is definitely a Bo Ryan-ism that's gone back many years. He never played anyone with over 2 fouls in the first half, or 2 fouls in the first half. But I do think that I agree with you. Tanjay should have come back in. I thought Blackwell should not have come back in because I think he absolutely would have got a third. I think Blackwell just didn't have he wasn't in the right headspace in the first half. Should have been Tanjay. Don't hate it though. Overall, because it wasn't like it was crazy out of hand. We were down 1 at halftime. I think it's okay that you kept your guys on the bench.
I'm going to kick this one to you because this came up in the Discord a couple times. Steve is also saying, Rajiv, wake up. Klesman's not going to shoot his way out of this. He's been bad all year.
I disagree, Steve. I do, because like he has proven that he can go nuclear after he has a bad game. And you're right. It may not be shoot himself out of it and all of a sudden become a 40% free throw 3-point shooter again, but have games that we need him and have games that he's going to win for us. I think that can happen.
Tyler says, if you're not disciplined enough to get 2 arm bar fouls, how can they trust you not to get the third? I want to talk to this really quick because again, we got to remember who these players are. Tanjay is not a guy with crazy straight line ability to beat people off the dribble. When you're playing against a better athlete, this is who he's been for 4 years of his career. He's not going to get by people like a Chucky Hepburn does or like other people do. This is part of his game. This is part of the physicality he plays with. And I'm telling you, it's not going to change in the middle of a year. I keep like players are who they are at a point when they're a 23-year-old senior. It is what it is. Maryland's a tough team on the perimeter. I want to ask you this. This is the one I was trying to get to. This came on the Discord. I want to start with you on this and kick it over to you. Does this team have a toughness issue? Is this team soft?
I don't think so. I don't think at all. I think that sometimes it's easy to say that people say that we're soft because our bigs are frankly not as physical as they need to be. And I think that Winter should be more physical, but I don't think any of them are soft. I think that the way the offense that they're playing with, that the intensity they're playing with, I don't think that. Do I think that at times they play a bit soft on the rebounding, which you've heard me say many times? Yeah, I think we could have a little more effort there. But no, I first of all, I hate calling players soft. I don't like that term in general. I know people disagree with that. That's fine. That's just me. But no, I really don't think that. I think that this is a very experienced team that plays very heady, smart basketball. Could they play more physical at times? Sure, but I don't think I wouldn't call them soft.
Yeah, I agree with you. People in the chat are disagreeing with us both, which again is always great. Like this is
fair. Totally fair.
we encourage, and the whole point of this channel has always been to encourage open discussion in respectful ways. So that's totally fair. I just don't think it's a soft team. I don't look at Tanjay, who is one of the as many free throws as almost anybody in the country, as a soft player. Klesmond is not a soft player. The way Crowell's been playing recently, not soft. Blackwell is not soft. Kamari McGee is not soft. Carter Gilmore is not soft. These are not soft players. This is a veteran team. And quite frankly, you go on the road, and if a couple different things break early in that second half or mid in that second half, maybe we win this game, and we're not even having this discussion. Now I will say this. There was a comment earlier that said we can't go on a February swoon like we did last year. They got to bounce back now. Because if they don't, then you do start entertaining that type of discussion.
For sure. I want to put up a comment here from John Waleswick. Sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Blackwell has flipped his assist to turnover ratio entirely. I wanted to get your take on this because it is a little frustrating. We had 1 assist and 2 turnovers tonight. Obviously, turnovers are being an issue for him. We haven't really talked too much about Blackwell's game. What were your thoughts on his game tonight? Because I do find it a little frustrating at times. Now, look, he was in foul trouble. Obviously, he didn't play. He didn't really have a chance to get into the game. There are times that I feel like he knows when he can take over the game. Great takes to the basket. But there are also times where I'm just like, I feel like he just kind of loses the intensity that he has in the game. And it's a little bit perplexing to me because sometimes he just doesn't look like himself.
I think he's a sophomore that's really a 2-guard.
Okay.
I don't, and I hear you. It's a great point by John and yourself. There are those moments where he drives in and you're just like, dude, what are you doing? There's a couple moments where there's 3 people on him and he's still pivoting and it leads to a turnover. And I just think he's a sophomore that's really more of a 2-guard. Like if you had a true point guard on this team, a Chucky Hepburn, I think you would see such a different version of Blackwell where he would just be attack. And I think he's still trying to play that role of both. I know he is. And I think that's part of it, right? It's kind of one of the reasons I want more Kamari McGee, because I think Kamari McGee is more of a traditional point guard and it shifts Blackwell more into a role that he's more comfortable where he can just be the attacker. I think that's a lot of it, right? He's a true sophomore who really is more of a combo guard playing a lot of playmaking on this team.
And listen, he's still one of our absolute best players. We need him to be him. So I want him to keep doing those things. But I'll tell you what, if I could see a game where he doesn't turn the ball over on the first possession, that would be great. Let's have that.
And listen, I don't want to excuse bad turnovers either. Like, there was some sloppy play today, Blackwell included. And Blackwell didn't score in the first half. You got to be better. If you're going to be the alpha on a team, we're going on the road, you got to be better. And he would agree to that. Greg Gard would agree to that. So this wasn't a great game for him, but I do think at times we forget how young he is and we forget that he's not a true point guard. I think those elements play into it. Tyler Strieber says I'd kill for a Chris Vogt on this team. Agreed.
I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. There was a starred comment that you had. I thought it was good from Tyler. Why is McGee the inbounder on out of bounds plays? He shoots 60% from 3 and is the shortest player on the team. That makes 0 sense to me. I actually totally agree with this take from Tyler. I saw this during the game. I didn't write it down. I was like, why is he taking the ball out of bounds? Usually the 4 takes the ball out of bounds, just generally, which it's shocking to me because, yeah, I mean, he is a good shooter, especially in a spot up situation where he can just like get thrown the ball. But yeah, it's a weird thing that I was wondering about myself.
Yeah, this is actually an interesting one. So I have a couple comments on our inbound stuff and our press stuff and little things, right? Little things win you games against equally talented teams. And there's a couple moments where the Badgers, from a coaching staff standpoint, Rajiv, and they just have to be better at little things. One of them is inbound stuff. You have to be able to consistently get the ball in bounds and not use a timeout, not wait to 4 seconds and throw kind of a weird pass. You have to be better there. Some of that's McGee. Now, a lot of times the inbounder is a guy that they can set up a really quick shot for, or if there's a press, you can go right back to the inbounder. So that's why a lot of times a point guard is that inbound guy, because he's an instant relief valve for the first pass goes right back to the point guard, then they go up. But the other thing is, end of first half, let's go back to that scenario. There's 33 seconds left on the game clock. We took a shot at 12 seconds. You have to be better in those moments where you should not allow, and they didn't come down and score, but you should not allow them to have 12 seconds to come back down and get the last shot. That last shot needs to be yours, period. Getting the ball in bounds needs to be cleaner. I actually thought they broke the press pretty well today for the most part. But it's those little moments where it feels like we consistently give away a basket at the end of the half, Rajiv. And we've done that the last 3 or 4 games where our execution has to be better in those moments, especially for a veteran team.
It's little moments of the execution. One thing I wanted to ask you about, as a better basketball mind than most people is, well, so our press, right? So end of game, We're obviously in a situation where we're down 6-8 points. We're pressing the ball. I just felt like we played more of a man-to-man, full court man-to-man versus actually trapping the ball. Like there were times where I'm like, why are we not trapping here? Why are we not? Yes, I understand there's risk but from trapping too, but I feel like I'm a little frustrated at times when I don't think we actually press the ball very well. Do you see that?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I just don't think it's ever been a priority in this program. I mean, I think it's as simple as that. It's why Greg Gard, if you remember this year, went to zone a couple times, right? He actually tried a couple zone possessions, and we immediately gave up threes. And it's like, of course, we probably practiced it 5 times. I mean, that's hyperbole, but you're not going to be good at it if you don't focus on it. If you don't devote, practice time is so valuable. And if you don't devote significant resources to actually being a solid team at trapping, at pressing, because there's rotations that are involved in it, you're just not going to be able to break it out in the middle of a game against Maryland.
Yeah. I have a comment I want to put up. This is actually hilarious. Adam Fuller says, I did not watch the game. Describe it in 3 words. I like this kind of stuff. So I would just say, Adam, it's just like, I mean, sad, but tough road loss. I think that's all it really is. It's just a tough road loss. And I think looking at the big picture, sometimes you just got to recognize that's all it is. And we can be frustrated about it for sure, but you went to a team that has been absolutely crushing it right now, and you lost on the road.
I do love these type of things. My first one was McGee play more. Blackwell score first. I don't know. Honestly, it's a tough road loss. I think it's a perfect way to break it down. And now you got to rebound. You can't let this break into the next one, but you're going to lose games like this on the road. And you can't go from this team is really good, we're trending in the right direction, this might be a 4 seed, to we lose an 8-point game or whatever on the road to a solid Maryland team and say, this team lacks heart and it's soft suddenly. Like it is what it is. You're going to drop teams. This is an imperfect Badger team. We've said that all year long, and I think it's exceeded expectations. But those flaws that we talked about are still there, right? The lack of a perimeter ball handler, the susceptibility to teams that can pressure you, some weaknesses inside. All those are still there. Those weaknesses haven't gone away. They've just masked it because the offense has been more efficient than we thought it would be.
Yeah. Yeah. And looking at this big picture, as we kind of begin to wrap up a little bit, I think that the next few games are really important. We're at the beginning of a really, really tough stretch where we've got tough road games coming up. The first one is this weekend against Northwestern. I know that Northwestern is not the best team, but listen, the Big Ten is loaded. And I'm telling you, I watch a lot of Big Ten basketball, and I'm surprised at how good a lot of these teams are. No road game is going to be easy, and a lot of home games aren't going to be easy. It would be great to pick up a win at Northwestern. That's one of those where you're like, I had it in my category of this is how you decide where you finish, right? That was tonight's game and Northwestern, so we need to get that. But then you've got a home game against Indiana, and then you've got that brutal stretch where you're talking about Purdue, Oregon, Illinois. I mean, last year at this time, we were riding high. We were 6th in the country-ish, I think, at this time, maybe top 10 or something. And then we hit our massive February slump. And our schedule sets up for a February slump. Now, that's not going to happen this year because we're a way better team offensively. I think we are better defensively as well. But big picture, it's okay that we lost this. We're going to have to pick up some of these, though. Northwestern's one of those. We got to pick up one of those road games. Got to take care of business at home. Our home games, our next 3 home games are Indiana, Illinois, and Oregon, I think. Those are really tough home games, too.
Yeah, it's a tough stretch. And you're totally right. This is kind of where we were last year, feeling pretty good. And then we head into February, and it's the Titanic hit an iceberg. And on that ship, we didn't even have any lifeboats that got away. Everybody went down with that ship in February. I do think there's an interesting comment here, and I always like getting up not even opposing, but different viewpoints. Herb says, I don't like that we give Gard so much credit for wins and minimal critique in losses. Like I said, I do think there are things to be critical of here. I think playing time rotations I didn't love. I thought the offense got a little stagnant and they should have hit the post. I didn't like the end of the half situation. I didn't like his rotation before half. I feel like I've been mildly critical, but maybe Herb's right. Maybe we are glossing over this a little bit.
I think it's fair. It's definitely a fair comment. And we've definitely talked about a lot of the issues that we still see with this team. But I think for me, I think, I give Gard a lot of credit because frankly, I've been on the side of keep Gard, and there's a lot of people on the other side, which I totally respect. And I do want to almost like defend him in these moments just for this season because he made the adjustments that a lot of fans were calling for. And I feel like that's why I am a little bit more defensive of him in the present time. But he's definitely can be critical of a lot of the coaching issues, like the press thing that I brought up. I feel like that's a coaching issue. The post thing that you brought up, there are things that he can definitely be doing better.
Jesse says, Ryan, describe your men's league role these days. I'm not currently in one, but if I did, it would be culture. 3 words: culture, old man game, pump fake. I want to throw this up because I thought this was a really funny moment in this game, and it was from the UCLA big court or front court. Let's see. A-Bug says that ball thrown to McGee should have been a flagrant where Reese, kind of grabs it as the block and then throws it at him. That was the dumbest play I've ever seen in my life of watching sports. He was trying for that viral moment where you block the guy and you throw it at him out of bounds and everybody gets the clown on McGee. It was the dumbest play I've ever seen in my life.
He had the ball with 2 feet down. It wasn't like he was like falling and okay, I just need to try. What are you doing? He had the ball with 2 feet in bounds. If I was his coach, I'd have pulled him out right that second. Like, the hell are you doing, man? Such a horrible play. Happy that it wasn't our guy that did it.
It was the dumbest play I've ever seen. And I know exactly what he was doing because I've seen people do that where they block a shot, then they whip it at the guy out of bounds, and it's this viral moment where you can clown on the guy. It's a complete selfish, idiotic move. I would have lost my mind as a Maryland fan. Just the dumbest play. They're lucky they won.
Had they lost, a moment like that would have been what the Maryland podcast would have been talking about tonight. And I'm curious what they think about it.
For sure. All right, let's wrap it there. Rajiv, any final thought? Any other thing that you want to hit on? Again, as always, really do appreciate everybody tuning in. And every opposing viewpoint that's what we love, disagreeing on things because it makes all of us smarter. And I think there's a space we can do that in a way that's constructive, which is why I love this community.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say is it's a comment similar. Sonny Verma, guys knows Illinois basketball, knows Big Ten basketball, says Maryland honestly might just be really underrated. And I think that is a point that we need to just sometimes it's giving me a little just solace. I don't like losing. I don't think it's never okay to lose. Someone put that comment up there. It's just about this is a tough league and you're playing a tough team on the road. They had their big home moment, gold rush nonsense, whatever it is. It's okay in the sense that there are other places to get wins, and sometimes these road games are just not those times, and that's okay.
Yeah. I put Maryland was the favorite in this game for a reason. Like it's tough to win on the road. I'm not that stressed about it. I'm stressed if they don't respond, right? If Blackwell has another half, even more specifically, if we have another half where our offense is disjointed, another game where our offense is disjointed, right? The things we saw specifically in this game, if those carry over to future games, then I start to say, okay, now there's a trend forming. You lose a game on the road to a team that is quite frankly was supposed to beat you and you were in it the entire time until the end. I just don't think it's that big of a deal because this team is flawed. This is not the 14-15 Badgers. We know the flaws. So yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal. On to Northwestern. Got to win that game. Got to win that game. All right. We're going to rock it up there on Wisconsin. I think I said we're going to rack it up there. I don't even know. On Wisconsin. Go check out the Lockdown Big Ten channel. All the biggest stories over there. NIL, realignment, all that good stuff over on their channel. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, he is Rajiv. I am Ryan on Wisconsin. And until next time.